everyone have their Stanleys?
Yeah, you know. I
Yo,
got one.
Stanley,
Actually,
check.
Hold on, wait. I have my Mario water bottles. That's good enough.
Hey, any
This is a
reusable.
highly sought after cup.
Listen, this came with Super Mario Wonder.
That's fun that they gave you like a little gift.
Yeah, I didn't know it until I bought it.
That's all gonna be gone. Pre-order bonuses and physical little knickknacks you get with your game. That's gone, and games are more expensive.
Games are more expensive. Consoles are more expensive. Let me try something here.
Jacob, your camera followed you out of the room.
I could feel the sadness it felt when you left the frame and it was zoomed in on your last position, and then it slowly just went back to base.
Yeah.
It was like,
How about that? Does that look weird?
No, I like that.
Who's starting it this time?
I think Steven started it the first time. You started it last time. So maybe I should start it this time.
Yeah, that's called equal rights.
Unless one of you guys really wants to do it.
Hey, no.
Nope. We gotta do it at least
once.
Nope.
Don't let her con you, Jacob.
Steven's laughing at me, I can tell.
I'm just sitting here.
All right, welcome back to Screensavers. I am one of your hosts, Lindsay, and I am joined by...
Steven.
And Jacob. I doxed myself last time, so I guess I won't do that again.
Yeah, I'll put it in the bottom of the description and in the video. His full mailing address if anyone wants to send him anything or pay him a visit.
I don't need my identity.
Well, today we are discussing Sinners, and not only the movie as a movie itself, but our viewing experience of it as a whole. This is becoming kind of I don't want to say pattern, but this is the way we're going to be approaching some of our, if not most of our reviews. What we've done before, or I've done before with like Minecraft, like the movie itself was passable at its best. But like the experience as a whole, I gave it like just a 5 because I was like, that's great. But this movie, for example, like if we're gonna jump right into it, I would have rated it a 4 because the movie itself is great. My experience with it brought it down a little bit, and it's not all on the movie, and we don't want to sit here and be like, oh, it doesn't matter what they produced for us. I'm gonna let an audience ruin it for me, but it definitely plays a part of what we're able to even like focus on, because in this scenario it was just a little distracting, but we'll get into that.
I still think it was, I gave it the same rating. I still think it was that either way, but the experience definitely did not help. I think if I watch it again, I'm assuming it'll stream on something eventually. I think if I watch it again, I'll definitely give it a different rating, not just because of the experience, but watching it a second time always changes your experience.
Do we want to pop our Letterboxd on the... Here are ratings. Woo.
Yeah, just throw it on my shoulder right there.
Yeah, I also gave it 4 stars. There were things working against me for this movie because I don't really like period pieces and I don't really like vampire things.
How did you like this movie?
I did like it. It was just not like my first choice of something to see.
Question.
Also, oh yeah.
There were no periods in this movie. They might have been vampires, but there was no mention of menstruation or periods. So
can vampires sniff that out?
I think they have to. They have to
be able to. They're like sharks.
So in my notes, I do have written down, I thought it was going to be some weird vampire sex movie because I saw multiple articles about this movie calling it sexy. So I was expecting it to be like just a horny movie, which it kind of was, but not as much as I was expecting.
I think you could make the case that every vampire movie, like post 1970, is exactly what you just described.
That's probably one of the reasons I don't like vampire movies, is because they're always weirdly horny.
Yeah, it's usually like a metaphor to talk about that sort of thing.
So you're telling me you were expecting more than the musty box munching?
Yes, I was expecting a lot more than that.
Again, I saw a lot online prior to this movie, or as it launched, and then prior to it, about how there was a scene that is just so shocking and mind-blowing that, like, when you see it in theaters, it's gonna just be, like, jaw-dropping. And then come out of the movie, and I was, like, trying to figure out, so which one was it? Because None of
Yeah.
none of the scenes in this movie made me like have a visceral reaction. The only one I could maybe guess, because I can't find the articles to like look back at them and see what one they were citing, is the spit scene with obviously Hailee Steinfeld and Michael B. Jordan.
Didn't we agree that it was the timey-wimey music sequence?
Yeah, but I meant like crazy creepy.
Not to like jump into it, but the first note I have was to Michael B. Jordan's, because you guys said that before the movie even started, and I did not know that he was playing two people. And I thought when you guys said that it was going to be like a twist that he was two people, but no, he was just twins, which was not
Yeah.
as exciting.
Yeah, not quite Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Which, can we just talk about how their names are Elias and Elijah? Like, are those not too similar to be
They're-
sibling names?
Everyone does it. In this case, their mom just said, just Elias, and then change it a little bit.
This was what, 1932, I think this takes place in, right?
Yeah.
There's like a 50% chance your kid is dying before the age of 10, let's be real.
Yeah, that's true.
And they were living on a farm. You had like a bunch of kids back then, so you really gonna put that much effort into name? Come on, I mean.
Well, then they kind of pay homage to it, because then they name themselves just Stack and Smoke.
Yeah, which is objectively cooler. So I
Yes.
get it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that coupled with the color coordination, it's like, okay, now this is more like it.
Do you want to read the IMDb description? 'Cause again,
I can take this time if you want, Jacob.
sure.
I have: trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back.
I guess you could argue that, like, obviously it is a vampire movie, and if I was telling somebody to go see this movie, I would tell them it's a vampire movie just to get them to see it. But vampires are rarely the focus of any vampire movie, and this is that, like, times 100.
It's at least a half hour or so into the movie before we're even seeing the start of that part of the story.
I think it might
Yeah.
be even longer
Yeah. It's when Remick first is introduced.
at the
Yeah.
farmhouse, right?
Yeah. I mean, you could tell because he just like landed out of the sky because he was trying to fly, and he was burning from the sun. Yeah, you're right, where it takes a little bit for you to be like, oh, this is actually a vampire movie. It's still the typical vampire stereotype where they're not even in a lot of their own movies.
What did we think about the cast of characters? Everybody was really well cast. I don't really like Michael B. Jordan as an actor really all that much, but I thought he did really well in this movie.
And I have beef with him right now, even
Can
though
I-
he is a beautiful man.
Hey, can I hear the beef?
Yeah, he said nice things about Jonathan Majors,
Yep.
who is a woman beater. He admitted to it on
He
tape,
did.
but he's so resilient.
Anyway, Magazine
Okay.
Dreams now streaming. Not a cheap plug. I'm not sponsored, but
Is this another fake movie you're playing?
yeah, Jacob, you want to explain for everyone what this whole fake movie bullshit that you started is?
There was this movie that came out on, what was it, Prime? What was it called again?
Called G20.
You reviewed it on Letterboxd, and I'd never heard of it, never seen any marketing for it at all.
Which is crazy because the two of us had seen marketing for it.
Where did you see it?
Instagram.
It never popped up for me.
It was Instagram ads, and I follow Viola Davis.
It doesn't seem like something I'd probably watch anyways, which is why it didn't pop up for me. It seemed very White House Down adjacent.
Oh, that's a banger. Don't you disrespect White House Down. White House Down is up there.
G20 doesn't even take place in the White House.
It takes place in South Africa.
So it's a president movie.
Military.
Badass woman president.
Why can't I think of the Harrison Ford president movie right now? I'm
Air
sorry.
Force One. Anyway.
I thought everyone did a good job.
Shout out to Cornbread.
Yes, no, that's what I was just gonna...
Yeah, yeah.
Honorable mention to Cornbread, yes.
Which was the nickname of a Celtics player. Oh, who was it? I bet if I asked my dad right now, he'd know. Dad, who was nicknamed Cornbread on the Celtics? Cedric Maxwell.
I have his name pulled up. Omar Benson Miller, who has played Cornbread. Anytime I see him pop up in something, I'm like, it's gonna be a fun performance. And then, given this movie and the way the characters were set up, I thought his introduction was the funniest. It broke my heart that he had to go out, and then I'm just glad we were spared of genital stuff with the vampires, because for sure was spoilers, we get to the part of the movie where they open up the barn and Cornbread is playing security at the door. He goes and leaves the door to go to the bathroom, and for some reason, or not for some reason, like everyone has their own filming style, but usually when I see genitalia that seems kind of unnecessary, it's because it's going to be
Something's about to happen.
something's gonna happen to it. And yeah, Cornbread goes to go to the bathroom, and I'm like, oh, this is not gonna be good. But luckily they didn't lean into that. But even him as a vampire was funny.
Maybe they were conscious of that. They knew they were gonna turn him, so they didn't want him to have that missing as his new self. Not like he'd need it.
I mean, vampires are horny, so
they are. Are these ones though?
These ones didn't really get
They're
around to
very
that.
musical. I said singing vampires ? That was when they first showed up and started singing. And then I wrote, were they musical before they became vampires, or did they suddenly turn musical after they became vampires?
I would assume before. Why am I blanking on the Irish vampire's name? Was
Remick.
He mentions like something offhand about the English and like their occupation of Ireland. So this guy is like old, and I'm assuming that stems from there. There's kind of a question throughout the whole thing of like whether or not you retain any self when you become a vampire, and they make it seem at first like you don't, and this is just some new being that takes you over, but by the end of the movie I feel like that's absolutely not true.
It seems like I forget if they mentioned it or gave it like an actual like classification, but their hive mind thinking, and they all had like that collective consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's obviously what Remick was looking at Sammy for. He wasn't so much just walking around killing everybody, essentially like turning everybody for the sake of turning them, but only doing it if they had a skill or a talent that he could leech off of in a way. So yeah, he probably himself was a little musical to begin with, but almost was like starting his own band with just people being like scouting for people to turn, but also, hey, can you play an instrument, by the way?
Because like that couple, I mean, we obviously know nothing about the couple really. But he just shows up, and then they all show up to the juke joint, and they're all just like playing instruments, and I'm like, well, it wasn't established that they knew how to play instruments before this, so wouldn't it be funny if like once you became a vampire you just magically got musical talent?
It's not, you never, like, there's some self-retained, but you, I guess, really don't know if like that part of them is from them.
It's like, oh, okay, you got fangs, a thirst for blood, and here's your banjo. Welcome to the club.
Yeah, that's what you walk around when you have eternal life. You just, where can I find some really great music? And they hadn't found some yet.
Oh, he's outside going, oh my god, you guys hear this, kid? Holy smoke! Oh boy, we got twin brothers.
Did you feel the build-up was worth the payoff?
For me, I would say yeah. Really, I would say my biggest, but might be like one of my only gripes with the movie was, and this could have been the theater that we were at a little bit. I, can't know 100%, but it felt like it was the movie itself. Obviously, it was shot in IMAX, and I feel like it was definitely tailored to be for IMAX and help it look a little more how it was supposed to. Or it was intentionally shot darker, which is, that's a way to do it. But to me, I thought there were some parts of the movie that were during the lead up, especially because it was nighttime. When the sun was out, when it was a little dark, I could live with it because the sun's out. But then once it was actual night, I was like, some scenes just being like, what is going on?
So I'm not sure about like the outdoor scenes, but I know the indoor ones with all of because there was a lot of soft lighting.
Yeah.
In this movie, I know I forget. I think it was with the cinematographer or somebody along those lines was working on the movie. I saw an interview where they talked about like those color tones were done specifically to light black characters well.
Oh, and speaking of things like the fact that it was shot for IMAX, so the director of photography for this movie, Autumn Durald Arkapaw, she is the first woman to shoot something for IMAX, which I thought was interesting that hadn't been done already.
To me, yeah, that is funny how it took this long for that to happen. I feel like
Yeah.
nowadays most movies are shot with IMAX capabilities.
Did they shoot it in 70 millimeter?
Yeah.
Like it's cool because it's a throwback sort of thing. That must cost so much money.
Apparently, they originally wanted to shoot it in 16 millimeter.
Because I know 70 is like there's only so many theaters in the country that can show that.
Oh yeah, that was the thing. It's like, oh, 70 millimeter is the preferred viewing format for this movie. And you're like, okay, cool. Do I just go to our local IMAX? Nah, there's only 8 in the whole country.
I looked this up afterward. Our local IMAX is one of them that is capable of it. So they just didn't do it in ours. And I saw that they're doing it again. They're releasing it IMAX 70 millimeter again because I guess the demand is really high. So who knows? Maybe they'll do it this time. When Oppenheimer came out, was that last year or the year before? Whenever it was.
Yeah,
2 years ago.
ago.
Some theaters had to be refitted. They had to like make the projector rooms bigger, physically bigger, to show that movie in IMAX. So I know that like a few more were added during that time.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the rest of it. I loved the story. I loved the way we were introduced to characters, both Smoke and Stack. Obviously, Sammy. The fact that they kind of did a foreshadowing in the beginning of the movie was cool. To me, like, that was the biggest hurdle at the start of the movie, was when I saw how it was being shown with a jump back 24 hours prior. You already know how it ends, but how we get there. And sometimes when that's the story, it's like, why am I wasting my time?
Yeah, that's why I was a little disappointed when both Michael B. Jordans ended up dying, because I figured that was nice. I expected that to happen just because of that. And then when it seemed like that wasn't going to happen, they kind of subverted that, and then it did end up happening anyway. This is a gripe that I have with just movies in general. I do this, and now Ryan Coogler has done it twice in the 2 movies of his that I've seen. When a character sees someone they know or who has been in the movie that is dead, and now they're speaking to them in a moment of crisis or for death. I don't like that. He did it in Black Panther when T'Challa was talking to his father. I don't really like any of that in movies. I feel it sort of cheapened the
dead
ending.
Baby.
Yeah, like I said, that happened all the time on farms back then. Come on, aren't we desensitized to this a little bit? This is why we have 11 kids.
Oh my god.
Well, they only have the one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
a bit
telling...
of a problem, right? When you try to like put a modern sentiment into a period piece, it's not their fault.
Who knows? She could have been infertile or something.
Yeah, there's that too.
She could have just gotten pregnant the one time and then wasn't able to get pregnant ever again.
I liked how they made that work, because to me, yeah, if that didn't play out the way it did, I would have just been like, ugh, kind of like, what a waste of time. And side note about what a complete waste of time, wrestler Indy Hartwell had posted a review of that movie after she had seen it to like her story, and it was just a screenshot of the movie, and in the text over it she wrote, "What a waste of 2 hours and 17 minutes."
Oh, no wonder she was released. To be fair, I think I posted something similar when I saw Hereditary, and people probably would not have.
No, Hereditary.
Reaction to that.
We should just do a whole video talking about how much we hate Hereditary.
Hereditary.
It's just none of us like Hereditary, and I thought I was the only one because I saw it the year after it came out, and I remember watching it and just being like, what the fuck did I just watch? And like, not in a good way. And people love that. That is one of the most overrated movies of all time.
I think most people don't like casual audiences don't associate horror with, like, there's this weird category that now they've made up that I don't think exists, but anyway, people sort of lump Hereditary into like I don't know what it's called, but it's like high-end horror or like elevated horror, they call it, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that kind of puts down most other horror. There's so many more effective movies that touch on all of the subjects that Hereditary does. Just watch those instead.
Yeah.
This was technically a horror movie.
Yeah, it was. I guess you were gonna, if you're gonna categorize it, you would say, so yeah, like a period horror movie. But it didn't feel like one for most of the movie, which I'm fine with, because it was clearly doing 2 things at the same time. And when it did get to the horror elements, the events of that and the conclusion of that tied in with all the themes really well. so I'm fine with how it was structured. I do think that the end was a little long-winded. I didn't really need the mid-credit / end credit scene because they were both.
But then you wouldn't have found out about Buddy Guy.
You're right. I wouldn't even know. See, I
These
I
two
know
have
I've
never
seen him
heard of
before.
Buddy Guy.
I know I've seen him before.
I think most people haven't heard of Buddy Guy.
Are you? He is famous.
No, I'm not taking
He's
that
a
away.
famous
There's
blues
a
musician.
there's a lot of famous people out
Well-
there that nobody knows. You could be known by 2 million people and you are famous as shit.
More now, right? With like streamers and
Yeah.
YouTube. There's so many
Yeah.
levels of micro fame.
And there are billions others that have never heard of you and never will. So yeah, they can be both at the same time, and Buddy Guy is definitely that.
Listen, how would we be acquainted with him?
Maybe I just make the false assumption that like other people's parents know generally the same things that my parents know. So
I
to me,
see.
like my dad knows who that is. So I would
Yeah.
just assume like other people's dads know who that is.
Everybody's dad knows the same shit.
No, just like generally,
Yep.
because like that would have been like he would be famous to like a different generation of people because he's like older. So to me, that's like a thing dads know. Dads know who older
Yeah.
musicians are.
Are you guys seeing what's happening with my camera right now?
Yeah, you're
Yes.
just
I don't
you're
know
just
what's
having
happening
some
there.
you're having some fun.
Hold
It's
on.
it's
Hold on,
Ooh.
wait.
Woo.
I have in my notes, and this is unrelated to Buddy Guy, at the beginning of the movie, and Steven looked over at me when this happened. They're like unloading a truck, or they're at a truck, and a snake pops out.
It was a rattlesnake.
It was not a real species of snake.
This is a gripe you have?
Yes.
What do you mean? It was a rattlesnake.
Not like any rattlesnake I've ever seen.
Well, yeah, I think that was just for whatever reason was like, hey, let's make an exotic looking rattlesnake. That's
They wanted to avoid,
all
They wanted
CG.
to avoid PETA.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all CG, and then we're killing it.
But there's a way to make it look like an actual snake, you know?
I thought you were gonna say you had a problem with the killing of the snake.
I have a problem with killing snakes in general, unless it's a Burmese python and you're in Florida. They have
Are they
contests for that.
invasive?
Yes.
They have contests?
Yeah, they have contests where they have people, you know, go down to Florida. People come from all over the country and they have competitions to see how many Burmese pythons people can kill.
Oh my god, we gotta do this.
You want to fuck up a Burmese python?
Yeah, what's the prize money?
Jacob, I would
I don't
pay
know,
to fucking
actually.
see you do this. Holy cow, put your money where your mouth is. Mr. Germaphobe over here is going swamping for some...
In the Everglades.
Yeah, my ass.
What's the money?
Not enough to get you to do it, that's for sure.
What's the money?
I think
got
you...
no
I
problem with
honestly don't know.
swamp. It's Florida, so I'm assuming you can shoot them.
Probably.
Yeah, good luck shooting a snake in the water.
I have good aim, I assume.
Oh my god. I would love to take you to a range and just watch you
I have a
absolutely...
tattoo of a revolver on my arm.
You also have a tattoo of a sword. Are you a knight?
No, but this might give me access to certain powers. You remember you play Far Cry 3?
Yes.
You remember when you got each tattoo, you get like a new ability? That's me.
I also had it written down because I think at the beginning of the movie I wasn't sure, like, not that I wasn't sure what was going on, but I have it written down what is the tone of this movie, because I feel like there were things that were supposed to be funny that nobody was laughing at.
There were things that were obviously funny, like most of the Cornbread introduction. That was pretty
Yeah.
funny.
Not even Delta Slim was Delroy Lindo was amazing in this.
He was.
If I had to pick a standout performance in the movie, it was definitely him for me. I really enjoyed Sammy. I should give his actual name. I really enjoyed Miles Canton, and I did like Hailee Steinfeld.
Oh, I wrote down what got the biggest laugh, which was I think I shat myself. That was
that
the
was-
thing that
yeah.
like everyone in the theater laughed at that.
I did love I tried looking over in the theater. We kind of always, the three of us, if we're going to see something, it is from left to right. If you're looking at the screen, I'm the left, Lindsay sits in the middle usually, and then Jacob's on the right side. So if I ever want to look over at Jacob for something, I have to look past Lindsay. It was when Merrick first got to the three of them, I guess, Merrick and the two people he turned, when they got to the juke joint and they wanted to get inside. At first I was like, so why, like, they're really gonna let Cornbread stop them from getting inside? And then it clicked on me. I was like, oh, the vampire thing of needing to be invited in.
I wrote that down because in the beginning when what's his name shows up to the couple's house and then the Native Americans come, and they said, God forbid you let him into your home.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh yeah, because they need to be invited in. That's funny.
Yeah, because if they had taken, say, the gold from him and never formally invited him, they would have, the natives would have showed up and then had him. But they obviously, the vampire's always trying to find a way to be invited in. People that don't know that that's what they're dealing with aren't gonna not invite them in.
The only thing that kept them from not inviting them in sooner was the fact that they didn't want any white people there to look like they were
Yes!
in trouble. Or else they needed the money, so they definitely would have invited them in.
Oh my god, imagine if Merrick had landed at a house of a black family, if he turned them, if he would have been able to just stroll in easily. And then that movie is an hour shorter. Everyone's dead inside of a minute, and then that's it, the end.
I thought it was so funny how heavy-handed most of them were at trying to get into. Cornbread was the funniest. Like, didn't even try to hide the fact that he was a vampire. And then Mary, Hailee Steinfeld's character, was like the smoothest with it. She just walked in and was like, "You're gonna let me in?" And he said, "Yeah." So I thought that was like a cool, because she was the only one that seemed to have any like sort of awareness that, oh, maybe they don't. She didn't want to be like caught.
Yeah, everyone else kind of seemed like they showed up to the door and, metaphorically had their fangs out and they're like, "Let me in, I want to kill you." And she was the only one, yeah, like you said, kind of played it low key. You could tell there had been a change, but not enough for obviously Cornbread or other people to notice right away. And then Sammy obviously felt bad because he thought they were just, they were just kissing.
Hey, at the time they were when he walked out, to be fair.
Yeah.
He was completely right. That is not his fault.
I can't blame him for that. You really can't blame him for anything. This poor guy.
Yeah, he was a brave man going down like that. It was a long, hot day.
There was no air conditioning back then.
At least she was wearing a dress though, so it was probably pretty breezy. There's probably good airflow.
Oh yeah, that's what I was looking at too. Yep, the ventilation was on point.
But she also did not shower or bathe of her own admission.
And how often did they bathe back then? They probably weren't bathing every day either.
Oh yeah, she could have been on day like 4.
Well, then that was just the norm back then, so people were probably just doing it all the time.
I understand it's the norm for them, but I'm saying present day with the knowledge of what we have, okay? That's a lot. But I mean, hey, that's good for him.
She was obviously lying about being married, right?
You think?
Yeah, I don't know.
She definitely was.
She was just trying to like make it something like, oh, not only am I attracted, but I'm married too, so you have to try and work for it.
That's what I thought it was, yeah.
I mean, other than that, obviously the theater experience.
Yeah, we want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest hindrance to this was the theater experience. And for the most part, there was a little bit of talking and stuff that was falling under the norm. But there were 2 women in the seats next to me on my left that during the movie that one of them took a flash photo of the screen.
They were recording the movie.
They were recording it with their phone. They were...
You were next to them when the picture went off. Were they taking a picture of the screen out of the corner of my eye? It looked like they were taking a flash picture of the BurgerFi QR code.
Nope, because Michael B. Jordan was on, and she goes, I heard the whole thing. She literally goes, "Oh, I gotta get a picture of this for Snapchat." Oh, Michael! And then she missed it. So not only did she take the picture with the flash on, but I watched her look at the phone and go, "Oh, I didn't get it," and then just close the phone. So all of that for nothing.
Try again?
Yeah, at least she didn't try again. But and then it wasn't a flash on, but yeah, they were filming. And then got up multiple times, and it was not discreet, and just talking through everything. I mean, just the
like something would happen, and they'd start going, "Nope, nope,
yeah,
don't go in
don't
there.
Go in it."
Any thoughts that popped into their brains, they just
said, yeah,
loud. It's like they were doing like a
live reaction,
like a live reaction video,
yeah,
where they just had to speak everything they're thinking.
Yeah, they're also starting a show where they review movies, except they're doing it, which has never been done before, during the actual movie with other people around. I've never heard of this.
Yeah.
On their show, they're saying, "Man, those people next to us were really quiet."
We had the greatest theater time at Sinners.
I literally had pre-clicked my pens, so I wasn't clicking and unclicking them the whole time because I didn't want to be disruptive. And these people were just talking the entire time.
There was a portion of the movie towards the end, like the last 20, 25 minutes or so, where it got louder, And I figured at that point we were safe because it was extended periods of just pretty loud action, fire happening. There's just plenty of things that can drown out the noise, but they accounted for that.
Yeah.
And they just kept speaking even more loudly. So if
Yeah.
anything, I heard them even more loudly than I did the rest of the movie because they were compensating for the audio.
How dare this movie get louder? We're trying to talk.
Yeah.
Hey, you see this? And then just screaming.
Now, if you forget, there was a stabbing at the theater when we went to see Minecraft. So
Yes.
we're a little iffy about how and if we
should say
approach
something.
Or say anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
I
not
think
willing to lose my life.
I think in this situation, if we had decided to say something, we would have been fine. But it's a lot less likely that you're gonna get stabbed by a woman than a man, wouldn't you say?
No, women
I
love
think
to
it's
stab
yeah.
things.
I think it's the contrary.
I guess if there's a preferred method, then I guess that would be it. But you don't think?
No, I think
I feel like in general, you're just more likely to face violence from
A man?
a
Yes,
man,
that is
yeah.
true. Like,
Women-
statistically, that's true.
no. During that though, like I just assumed that they had never been in public before.
No, literally, the only way I could rationalize it was these people have never been to a movie in their entire lives. This was their first time in a movie theater.
And also didn't want to. I think if I were to approach someone during a movie for talking, if it's bad enough, I'm getting up and I'm just gonna go get an usher and then come back and sit down. My only thing is obviously I gotta deal with the fact that they know I snitched on them, but either way, I'm the person involved in it because I'm either gonna say it directly to them or someone else. And I feel like if it's someone else, I don't know exactly how it would work, but it would be funny if they stopped the movie.
So my cousin told me it wasn't for this movie, although he did also have a problem in Sinners, and he did ask them to stop talking, and they did, luckily. But he was at another movie, I forget what theater it was at, but did go to an usher and say something, and they were told specifically that they could not toss the person out unless they caught them talking.
Oof.
So yeah, so imagine having that where you do say something to somebody and then they can't toss them out, and now you're sitting next to the person the entire time with them knowing
They
that
need to
you-
just go into the movie theater and watch them talk.
I agree. Why can't there just be like a person? I mean, you'd have to hire more people, which they probably wouldn't want to do, right?
I saw online there were certain theaters for Minecraft that they were assigning someone to stand in the theater and watch the audience, so that
For any
way
signs of
it-
popcorn.
yeah,
throw.
in case something happened, they could just immediately either toss someone out or like speak to whoever was causing trouble.
Yeah, I want that
Yeah, I
gig.
mean-
Sign me up for that. That'll be lit.
Ideally, I feel like that would be something that would happen, but movie theaters aren't doing great right now as it is, and they probably do not want to hire more people.
Don't
Why
worry.
do I feel like there used to be a bigger like usher presence like 10 years ago, 10 plus years ago?
While the movie was happening.
Yeah, like I feel like people would come in and like
Oh,
check.
they would definitely, yeah. I don't know that I've seen that at the theater we're at now.
Yeah.
But there's our local showcase, I feel like, does that more often.
They have someone come in and like check a panel.
Yeah, and they've got like a tablet or something. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to give a shout out to the music. I really liked all of the music in this movie. Shout out Ludwig Göransson.
Yes.
Shout out to him. He did a great job with this.
Yeah, shout out
music.
the newcomer Ludwig Göransson. Never heard of this guy before.
Relatively unknown.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is this his
relatively
first
unknown guy.
score? I heard he primarily worked on YouTube before this.
I can say shout out to someone even if they're very famous.
No, but you said it like you just discovered who they were.
Well, I
No,
mean,
I
it's
just
possible
wanted to
that
make sure
somebody
I got
might,
his
right?
name right.
Was
Someone
it-
might not know who he is.
Yeah, well, we don't want that shit here. People, if you're watching this video and you don't know who Ludwig Göransson is, don't watch any more of it. Not welcome.
Yeah, we get really deep into film composers here. So if you don't have that knowledge, oof.
Yeah, I don't got time to teach people about people.
Yeah, you got your Danny Elfman.
Just like how Lindsay
Yeah,
said
John Williams.
John Williams. Just how Lindsay said that every dad knows the same things. If you're watching us, you should know everything we know. So if you don't
Yeah.
know what we know, just don't bother.
We're not here to educate. Just come in with the knowledge or leave.
If you find yourself at any point going, I didn't know that, get out.
We're not looking to teach you
Yeah.
anything.
If I find out I'm teaching shit in these videos, I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah, the music was good.
I really
did-
enjoyed just obviously the music that was in the diegetic and non-diegetic music was all good.
What the fuck does that mean?
It means the music you hear in universe of the movie, and then the music that only the audience hears that's like outside of the universe.
But did he do everything? Did he write like even like all the music or just?
Because I know it said he like collaborated with other people. His wife also worked on it.
Who gives a shit?
Okay.
Honestly.
Wow.
I want to make sure everybody has credit.
I'm
And they also
joking.
worked with a blues producer.
Who? Buddy Guy?
Lawrence Boo Mitchell.
That would be the best musical talent to have, I believe, is like a bassist for a blues.
You think so?
I mean, think.
Why bassist specifically?
Isn't that the guitar that's like boom, 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 boom?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one I like the most. That's all.
The only other note I have was that the sex scene at the beginning was really awkward.
Was it awkward to watch because you expected better from him?
Yes, I did expect better from him. I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes when someone's really good looking, they feel like they don't have to try.
That's true. Anybody besides me think about themes, or is that just like my brain talking?
Well, what about the theme?
I feel like the prevailing theme in this whole thing was power in any way you can get it. So they're like limited opportunity they have sort of forces them to think in other ways. The beginning of the movie, they sort of established that they were mobsters in Chicago, and then they not insinuate, they just straight out say they robbed the Irish and the Italian mobs, and that they may or may not be on the way for them because they left Mississippi to go to Chicago to do that. And found that their opportunities there. I don't know if they went there. I don't remember if they say there's not. I don't know if they went there to do that.
Yeah, they did.
Or they went to Chicago looking. So they went there looking to be like enforcers.
Yeah.
Okay. So I do think they kind of expect there to be more opportunities for them there. Not like even legally if they had to, like if they were looking for that, probably weren't. And they did say, that what was the line, like Chicago is just Mississippi with tall buildings or something like that. But yeah, just grab any power you can, just because they don't have any opportunity for much. We didn't mention it, but they bought the plot of land off of who was apparently like the leader of the KKK chapter there. And so even if the vampires hadn't shown up and this went off without a hitch, the next day it was gonna be over anyway. So I think that's one of the main themes, and the other one is like, just live, like things are just going to happen. Like they weren't going to be able to control them anyway, but it doesn't mean you just stop living.
Jacob, what else was going into the power anyway? You can take it.
Oh, you want me to? A certain, I don't know, how do I put this? There was a certain
They wouldn't stop talking about oral.
Yeah. There's at least 3 references off the top.
Yes, at least 3.
Two depictions of it and 1 mention of it.
Heavy on the cunnilingus.
Yes. But that's sort of that too. So like I think you had mentioned when we were talking about it, you were like, I didn't think men were thinking about that back then.
There's
You're right.
There's no chance that's water cooler talk.
I was thinking like, you're right, they probably weren't, but you have to think alternatively, right? If you want to, this is a crude way of putting it, but like, if you want to get what you want and think outside the box, and that's just a way to do that probably was not being done.
What are you laughing at?
This is a real conversation here. What do you mean?
That was great. No, I loved that.
Yeah. Maybe I'll write an essay about it.
That would be great for like a human sexuality class.
I think so, yeah.
I want to see your published works on that.
I'll come speak. Yeah, I'll speak. You don't even need to pay me. Just give me like $10. I'll show up.
My only last thing to add would be the mention of there being a story with the Ku Klux Klan. I do love they just get the shit kicked out of them or killed, or it just it brings me back to the Red Dead 2 days of just any time
I remember that.
You stumble across a civilian side quest where it's the Klan, you go, oh, this is great. This is what I'm here for.
They serve in like modern, unless it's a movie like actually dealing with like that sort of time period, but like they pretty much exist in modern movies at least to just be like same thing with Nazis, like they exist to be the same, just the punching bags,
as they should be.
Movies, they make great villains.
I can't see fucking shit out of this.
I can't see fucking shit out of this thing.
Can you imagine Indiana Jones with no Nazis? It doesn't work.
I should have mailed it to the Marx Brothers. That would conclude our recap review rating and retort
Spoiler
of
drop.
Sinners. Thanks everyone for
Ooh.
watching. Bye guys.
Yeah.
Bye.